Hello, everyone. I have been with Rogue Company, I think, since Alpha closed and all open beta phases. I believe this is early access now. Anyways, I'm ready to do a recording to help new people and then go through a discussion about the rogues. Okay, so basics first. Rogue Company is a over the shoulder, which I think qualifies as third person. It could be technically second person, but either way, yeah, so it's going to be a little bit different than some other shooters that you may have played. In addition to being at a different camera angle, there is shoulder swapping and things like that. So you do have to be on top of shoulder swapping, rolling, and other things in certain circumstances. But once you figure out the movement, then you also have to figure out how the system works. So each rogue has a passive and an ability plus a combat loadout. You'll notice that in this case, Talon has radar dart and mag gloves, but for his combat loadout, that's where you see all this stuff. When you get to the combat loadout, you will have the option of a primary weapon and a gadget. You have to pick one of the two out of these options. In Talon's case, it's going to be either an LMPX or D3DI for the primaries. For gadgets, it's going to be C4 or Flashbang. We'll go over all of this in a little bit, but perks is the last one here. You can buy as many perks as your money permits, though I would not recommend doing that, pending circumstance and all the other stuff. But yeah, so you kind of want to focus on this. More specifically about the weapons, though, and really any other thing in here, they do have upgrade levels except for perks. You'll notice that here, this is the base LMPX, this is tier 1, this is tier 2, and then tier 3. Some guns do want you to upgrade them as quickly as possible just so you can get the most out of them. Others may not require it and you can get other things, but it's all about knowing the rogue. Anyways, that's the basics. Let's go into what I think are the most useful rogues right now. We'll start from left to right. Okay, I think Chaac is fairly useful in certain circumstances. He is all short range, as you can see. He has an SMG and shotgun. If you're on maps like, what is it, Windward? No, High Castle. Yeah, it's High Castle. On High Castle, if you're playing Demolition and you're on the attack, then A is going to be that tower just right out there in the open. So Chaac is not going to do so well in those circumstances. But in smaller maps like Icarus, then he should be fine. The good thing about Chaac is that he has the ability to revive himself and roll away when he's downed. This makes it easier to revive him. So yeah, on shorter maps he's fine, but for other maps, not so much. Dallas is kind of questionable. I'll go ahead and talk about him, seeing as it's borderline useful. So the problem with Dallas is he's all long range, well, medium to long range. He has a reveal that's a pulse, and it's a one-time thing until you can down another enemy. This pulse may not hit an enemy because they may be too far away, or another issue is if one of the rogues on the enemy team has, I think it's Ghost, which is the perk that makes it so they can't be revealed. Unfortunately, for those reasons, he is a bit limited between being limited to one and then having mostly medium to long range weaponry. He does not have a response for short range, not really. Dima is going to be a little bit more useful than Dallas, even though Dima is under the same problem in that most of his stuff is for distant combat. He does have the Merv launcher, which does help uproot enemies, and he does get a good amount of offensive stuff too in his loadout, such as the grenade, faster reload, quicker, or his health regen delay is quicker. So there are some things useful about Dima in certain circumstances. Lancer is good, but only if the person understands the rogue and the map. Just like Chaac, Lancer has all close range combat stuff. The thing with Lancer that makes her so good is the quick and quiet. Her ability allows her to move at a much faster speed, being quiet and immune to detects. So you can really get around an enemy if need be. But outside of that, Lancer's not going to be too good for much else. She's not going to be good for standoff during defense and things like that. Flanking, though, she can definitely do it, and she can do it better than most rogues. Phantom is going to be just like Lancer in that it's going to take somebody with knowledge of the game and also being pretty good at long-range combat. Actually, she's going to be much better at long-range combat than Dallas and most rogues. Her smoke grenade can be used for escape, or it can be used for pushing. I don't think that this is balanced at all, that it can be thrown. I think this ability should have been restricted to her, in the sense that if it's pressed, it's dropped on her. Because with the way this nanosmoke is, she can just fling it at an objective and then completely blind the enemy and reveal them at the same time, which is completely unfair. But, yeah, that's a discussion for another day. Okay. Ronin is useful in the fact that she does get some good stuff in her combat loadout for perks in terms of offense. Another reason that Ronin can be good is in the fact that she has access to the best SMG in the game, and she has access to an AR, so she's flexible towards the situation and the map. Her ballistic knife either has to be chunked at an enemy, or it has to be thrown behind them so that when they roll away, it gets them. Other than that, you're not really going to see this get anybody. It's too easy to see. So really the only thing Ronin has going for her is the other stuff. She is a starting class, or a rogue, so people will be able to get familiar with her pretty quickly. Saint, I don't think really needs much of an explanation because it's a medic. Saint should be at the core of really any team. Somebody should always be going Saint just for the revive drone. The revive drone can be so clutch. You can send it out and then at the same time lay down suppressing fire to keep somebody from going after the person you're rezzing. It's very straightforward in what you do with Saint. Scorch is good, but she's like Chaac. She's super limited in her range capabilities. However, she is immune to incendiary grenades, and on top of that, she does get incendiary bullets to go with the strongest SMG in the game. So, she has her uses. Talon is for sure good. Now, the reason I like Talon a lot, and I play him a lot, is because his radar dart is extremely hard to find. It's very, very tiny, and you have to be looking very carefully for it. To complicate the matter for the enemies, the dart can be thrown at higher up places, and will still pulse and find enemies. Talon is extremely great for defense, more so than offense. The reason Talon's really great for defense is because you throw the dart somewhere either in front of the objective or put it somewhere where there's going to be a chokehold. It will narrow down how many enemies are going to be coming a direction. Now, granted, if you're running to Lancer or things like that, it won't reveal them, but it will at least give you some awareness on choke points and things. His mag gloves allows him to pick up the radar dart after being flung, so you can do everything from a distance in terms of being able to keep an eye on an objective and things like that. It does take some time to recall. That's why I don't think that this is really as good for the offense, because moving it all the time is just going to be time consuming. Sure, it might save you, but I think there's other things you can do with Talon. But anyways, going into his combat loadout now, Talon uses the LMPX, which is an SMG that wants to be an AR. If you'll notice, once you get up to tier 2, it goes up to 15.5 range. That's going to be the longest range for an SMG. Yes, it's not going to have the rate of fire to keep up with the Ronin or Scorch SMG, so it's not going to really do much in close quarters against them, but it will likely win against other rogues in close quarters thanks to its high rate of fire and good handling. I almost never use the D3DI, but I am aware that it is a good DMR. It does a lot of damage, has a lot of range. Yeah, it's just an all-round sick gun. But I've hardly ever had to use that. We'll get into more advanced stuff in a minute. Moving on. Vi is the last one that I consider to be viable out of this list. Vi, in comparison to some of the others, works fine on offense or defense. Her Vile Poison is an insanely large radius, so it acts like a grenade on steroids, which makes it great for removing somebody from behind a barricade if you're on the offense. Or if you're on the defense and you got somebody pushing you, just chunk that, and that will weaken them before you try to take them on. Her Leeching Poison is actually very strong. I've noticed that the extra 25 HP, assuming that you can get that far, is the max, of course. If you can get out to that 25 HP max, that will regenerate along with your base health, which means that she has hardened all the time. Or Headstrong, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's called Headstrong. Headstrong gives you 25 armor, but it's temporary. So her Leeching Poison is essentially that, but it regenerates. In addition to having access to this big poison pool, she has access to perhaps one of the best ARs in the game, and a semi-auto shotgun. The semi-auto shotgun is not going to win against some of the other stuff, but it will have a very good fire rate for shotgun, so if you do miss, you can make up for that. Vi is also good in the fact that she has the cloaked perk, which is what I was talking about earlier. That will negate the Talon Dart as well as Dallas. It's pretty awesome. In addition to that, she gets Tenacity and Helping Hand. So she takes reduced damage from explosions and revives teammates faster. Vi is just an all-around great rogue on offense or defense. It's not like some of these others where it seems to be they're good on one thing or the other. Vi's just good on both. Saint's, of course, good on both. He's the only other one after Vi that can be used for both. But yeah, that's really all the rogues that I would say are useful. Let's go and use Vi for an example. Earlier I was pointing at grenades and saying we'll talk about this later. The thing that I want people to be aware of is, while yes, it is good to kill people, a lot of the offensive grenades, like Incendiary or the Frag Grenade, they're very easy to avoid. It's not like Tear Gas Grenade or Smoke Grenades that, are pretty hard to avoid. They linger for a while, they cover a pretty big radius, and you get 2 of them once they're fully upgraded. You can see that right here. It's this increased grenade count by 1. That means Vi gets 2 Tear Gas Grenades versus 1 Incendiary. It's really great for checking to see if an enemy's there and or slowing in advance. You just pop 1 grenade, run away if you have to, or pop a grenade and help your teammate push. You get 2 of them, so you get a lot of flexibility. So if I have any advice to give on the advanced side of this game, it's going to be that. Look at the combat loadout and be sure to get the one that says more than 1, because that's going to help you more. So for Talon, that's going to be Flashbang. For Ronin, that's going to be smoke grenades. Let me see. I guess that doesn't count. But yeah, I think you get my point. People are too bloodthirsty in this game to really understand that you're going to find it more useful to slow an enemy's advance rather than try to kill them, or at least make it as obnoxious as possible. Yeah, I think that's really all I can say in that regard, in terms of the combat loadout. I'll go ahead and real quickly, I guess, go over why I skipped some of these rogues. So I skipped Anvil because he's entirely reliant on his LMG, which is not very accurate. Yes, it shreds, but that's entirely reliant on if he can hit. The problem is all these rogues, like Vi and these other ones, have very accurate guns, and they will be hitting your head way more than you can. Anvil's LMG is just not accurate enough to hit heads as nearly as much as these other rogues. So yeah, he's got a pretty big problem for himself. The other thing too is he's just too niche, I guess is the best way to put it. I wish Glitch was good, but unfortunately Glitch is not. This hack ability that he has, while it can detect C4, mines, and other stuff, it's in a radius around him. That means you have to be within a certain distance of the enemy's C4, mines, or what have you in order to use that. He's also all close range as well, so there's that problem. Trench is the other one I didn't really mention much, and that's because Trench is under the same problem as Dallas in that he has all medium to long range stuff. The barbed wire is easily destroyed as well. All it takes is one Dima Merv grenade to really remove it. Yeah, so I don't really see Trench as being useful because the barbed wire being too easy to destroy, and also just because of the medium to long range stuff. If these weren't a problem, then he might be viable, because he gets an extra gadget, which means he can carry 3 tear gas grenades when it's fully upgraded, or 3 active protection systems, which does save a teammate's hide when on the defense. The active protection system will stop the Dima Merv grenade as well as other grenades. So as long as you have one of those on the defense, you can cancel out most of the enemy's offense. But yeah, unfortunately, he's just got too many problems to really see in any use, in my opinion, in comparison to the other rogues. But yeah, there you have it. That's all the rogues for you. I guess if you have any other questions or comments, just post it in the thing and I'll look at it. Thanks for listening.